Good evening and welcome to Gunner Shot. Tonight we're going to discuss what's beyond the Trump and Zelensky blowout. As you can see from the cartoon, इनका दोनों का वो connection टूट गया है and it went very badly off in the Oval Office. And the whole world has seen it, and I'm sure the whole world is discussing about it. But we're going to discuss something beyond that. And to discuss this and beyond, with me is Rajiv Narayanan. Rajiv, welcome to Gunner Shot once again.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure to be on your show as always.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
I would say the last 10 minutes of the video recording is what is being discussed the most, not the first
discuss.
30 minutes. But it shows a trend. What my reading is slightly different because if you're going to call somebody for a diplomatic talk, you don't do it in media glare. Media comes later when you come out for a press conference and talk about what you have achieved in closed doors. This is the
Yeah.
first time I'm seeing a diplomatic meeting being conducted in full media glare in the Oval Office.
But, he's done this with Starmer also,
Yes,
right?
sir. That is what I was coming
And
to.
he's done it with Macron also. So he's made a trend of this, a new kind of a style in which he's publicizing what he's doing and getting everyone to the Oval Office.
Correct, sir. So now but he didn't do it with Modi.
Modi, yeah. Maybe it was too early.
No, my reading is slightly different, sir. He has been very after the Europeans that
Oh,
they are depending too much on US and they
USA.
want a lot of lifting to be done by the USA. And he
Yeah,
feels that it is these leaders who are the uh, problem. And those
yeah.
problem leaders, he's making them make statements in prime media to show to the rest of the people and the others that it is these people who are the problem. And the one who has come out worst in that, I feel, is Zelensky.
Oh, he thought he shot himself in his head.
Yes, sir. And basically, what is, I think, the hint being given is that he is the stumbling block as far as the peace is concerned.
I think
And
so.
is it a messaging to the generals in Ukraine, some of whom are sick and tired of Zelensky, who doesn't
Yeah, it
listen to
must be.
them? Now, if that happens, then is it an indicator that he is okay if they are going to remove him physically?
Yeah, I think he will be removed. I'm very clear कि भाई Zelensky का time आ गया.
Sir. I personally, to one or two places, I have mentioned that he has written his death warrant.
Mm.
Compared to that, he's been armed a lot and he became too big for his boots. And it is basically
Yeah, I
like
agree with that.
what Vance mentioned, which he took offense to, that Biden and especially the media made much out about him. Otherwise, he's nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, I agree with him.
And we expected lines. Germany, France, UK, and Canada have supported him. Not surprising, because
That's that's par for the course at this point of time.
yes, because Germany, I was surprised because some people said it is change of government. It's no change of government because CDU and SDP have always had coalitions earlier also. 3 tenures of Angela Merkel was CDU and the SDP. But what would worry the Germans most is entire East Germany
They
voted
have
for
not
AFD.
for AFD.
They voted for AFD. And number two, bulk of their youth, 20, 30, 35 years, have voted for AFD. It is essentially the balance of the population which has swung in their favor. And how long? So it is going to be much of the same thing at present as far as Germany is concerned. So it's not surprising Germany is supporting Zelensky. How much will
Zelensky.
they survive
Yeah,
without US?
that's $1 million. I don't think they'll be able to. I mean, before we go ahead, I would like to tell everyone that tomorrow we are not tomorrow, on Monday, I'm getting Ambassador Gurjeet Singh to talk about Germany. Because as we go along, Germany will be a key pin in this entire thing, to go
And
thing. And he's been the ambassador, Indian ambassador to Germany. So on Monday, I suggest you get join back, right? What General Narayanan and I will speak from our general knowledge, but he will speak from ground knowledge. So, but that's
okay.
later. Let's go ahead, Rajiv. And what
And
Rajiv is saying is absolutely on the right lines. Huh? Okay.
the problem with Germany, like we take one by one, their own economists are saying that if they don't pull up their socks, they're facing recession. And it has been the manufacturing hub as far as the uh, EU is concerned.
Europe is good.
Yes, and considering their aging society, if most of their manufacturing companies are laying out workers to the tune between 10 to 15,000, that is enormous. That is enormous and telling, and especially when you see Volkswagen, Bosch, BMW, you are laying off workers to the tune of 10 to 15,000. Now, that is telling. What will happen to the people? France is facing stagflation. EU is facing, UK is facing recession. Canada is facing stagflation. Now, none of them can survive like this. And I'm not surprised that Ursula had come with a huge team of 22 counselors. They may call it FTA. It is essentially a begging bowl asking for entry into the Indian market. And I'm sure they have been told that if you keep your anti India architectures in place, there is
Then
no way
forget
that
it.
you're going to come in. You can forget it. So, of course, she made tall claims by the year end they will have. I'm sure people will remember that Rishi Sunak had also said it will be a Diwali gift to UK, the FTA, which is still.
No, no, by the year end, Europe might not be in the same shape as it is. Europe
Yes.
FTA they'll have, then Europe might not need it by then.
So, I'm looking at two things. How long is NATO and EU going to survive? NATO essentially, if US is not going to be there, that is the end of NATO. And when Trump says to EU that you have to look after your own security, they're up a gum tree. They can't, in these 3 years of war, they have not even been able to scale up their military production to support Ukraine. And if you're not able to do that, and with no army, navy, or air force to speak about anywhere except for a little bit which is there with France and UK, UK is not part of EU. So, how is EU going to look after its own defense with nothing? And I fully subscribe to what both Vance and Hegseth told them, that the enemy is within, not outside. Russia
Outside.
is not your prime threat. Your prime threat is inside, where the radicals are running the roost. And you hesitate to call that out. And you're still under that phobia of Islamophobia and not calling them out when they're running the roost. And they're destroying your very fabric of your country, or countries, if I may say. But yet, the politicians are not ready to bell the cat. So I entirely agree with you that by the end of the year, in what shape is Europe going to be, that itself is going to be telling. In this environment, where does Zelensky fit in? He just doesn't fit in. And if he doesn't fit in, comes the logic that he has signed his death warrant. Out he goes. Because at the moment, as I see, the Yalta 2.0 is essentially US, Russia, and India. US for what it brings to the table. Russia, many people may not know, they only look at oil and gas. It has the largest wealth of minerals in the world, over close to $20 trillion worth of minerals it sits on, including rare earth. And when we are looking at US wanting to pull away from the blackmailing of China where rare earth is concerned, It's Russia which comes into the play, and Ukraine. Ukraine also has rare earth. And by the way, sir, bulk of the rare earth are on those areas where Russia is already sitting.
Yeah, yeah, he's
In
sitting.
Ukraine. So that is where Russia comes onto the table. And you come onto the table because the range, depth, and scope that you provide, nobody else in the world can be able to match it. And with China, like you have also flagged it so many times, having its own internal issues, it is these three. And in these three, neither Europe fits in, nor current Europe, nor Zelensky fits in. And that is where I say logically that he signed his death warrant, and I don't see him uh, staying in power or even being alive by within the next 6 7 months. That is by the end of the year. He's not going to be there.
Yeah, whether he's alive or not, we'll see later. But the fact is that, like you rightly said, I don't think in the next 5 6 months he's going to be in power. He
Wow.
will be moved out, and
Yeah.
things will happen because, yeah.
And
Oh,
when
the
that
fact is that,
happens,
yeah,
हाँ sir. नहीं बोलो
yeah.
sir.
Go ahead, go ahead. आप बोलो, उसके बाद आला.
I was saying that it is once he is removed from the scene, then they will sign whatever deal and agreement that needs to be done with the Russians and inform them, and that middle deal will get signed by the new incumbents who will be in power in Ukraine. And while signing the deal, he is going to push for elections in Ukraine, which has been his norm right from the beginning. And he understands that as long as Zelensky is there, he may not be in the mood
Conduct
to have
elections.
elections, because he has got to remove all the people from inside. And he is, I feel, he is very clear that if elections are held, he will lose the elections. So they might
Okay.
remove him, get the other people to play, and then do the deal and have elections. And then my basic reading in all this, why Trump is in a hurry to sort out both Gaza and Ukraine, I think he's also aiming that if Obama could get a peace prize, he wants a peace prize.
वो तो पीस प्राइज तो चाहिए उसको. इसमें डाउट ही नहीं है. He wants a peace prize is beyond a Nobel Prize for peace. Look, people, Obama getting peace prize was a bloody fraud. As far as I'm concerned, it was a fraud. He did nothing and he got a peace prize. How he got it, I
I
don't know.
think yeah, he just
Uh,
got elected, and for getting elected,
And
they
then
gave him a peace
he gave him a peace
prize.
prize. Okay. And in fact, a lot of our problems today, which we are inheriting and we are, dealing with, are a product of what Obama has done. After
Done.
all, he is the one who looked away completely when those islands in the South China Sea were
Yes,
being
yes,
built.
yes,
If that had not happened, China wouldn't have been so strong.
strong, yes. And
As
it all
at that
begins
time,
with that Scarborough Shoal incident when he pushed
yes,
Philippines back and didn't push the Chinese back.
Chinese back, and he could have done it at that time if he had done it. The end of story. After
Yes,
all, if you remember, go back to the Clinton days,
Xi Jinping may not have become the
become the
general
president also,
secretary. General
and not
secretary,
only
but
that, yeah,
he was the one who was pushing for being aggressive there.
yes, and you just go back to the time of Clinton when Clinton just sailed a aircraft carrier through the Taiwan Strait, and after that, China just shut up and sat quiet for the next uh, maybe a decade. So I
Yes,
think Obama has a lot, and at that time he didn't handle Europe also well. You
yes,
know, he didn't handle Europe at all. He allowed this westward expansion of NATO to take
yes.
place. Not sorry, but not westward, eastward expansion. Right. So
He
I
pushed it.
think he's got a lot to blame for in this entire game, but then that's a different story. So let's look at this. Okay, we now are very clear that okay, one of the I won't say major options, almost a certainty, barring some miracle which takes place, is that Zelensky will go. And but how do you see this war going forward as we are? It's there
He's
today also.
basically
Even today, there's firing going on and all those things going on, and we know both are exhausted. Nothing will happen.
yes. There is nothing much except what are they going to do is they just draw the lines wherever who is in occupation. So that is what Hexet has also said, that to expect a 2014 borders back again is not feasible. And while Russia may have put in those four provinces, the area that they have occupied, Donbass area and Luhansk area, is essentially what they were interested in. I was surprised that Putin then pushed for it in the 2014 and 15 Minsk agreement to take over these areas, because those people are Russian predominant and they wanted to merge with Russia. And of course, after that, there have been a lot of shelling and other things from the Ukrainians to suppress them. So now he is in occupation of that. And he has a direct link now to Crimea. So that Crimean, they had also stopped the water to Crimea once Russia had occupied in to, or rather, should I say, reoccupied, because till 1954, Crimea used to be part of the Russian Federation. And
Yes.
it was the Ukrainian Khrushchev who handed it over to Ukraine and said Crimea to be part of Ukraine, much
Mm.
against the advice of his people. So they have reoccupied Crimea. So this is what it stands. It remains to be seen. Will Trump permit them to have that small enclave in Kursk area, which the uh, Ukrainians have? That is a small patch left that they will leave. So this is where it is now. Will it be a peace treaty or will it be an armistice, a ceasefire? I presume it will be a mix of both, because be that as it may, that Yalta 2 may be having Russia, Trump will always want to have a handle with him for the US to uh, do something to both to Russia and India. So I don't see him giving up on both Pakistan and Bangladesh in a big way. He will have some keys available within that region for himself. And as a, I would say, as an extension of that is what he mentioned today, where there was a lot of chatter coming on earlier, that the Afghans are giving back the Bagram airbase to the Americans. And Trump willy nilly almost made that statement. He didn't mention Bagram, but he said that they're planning to get back their boots in Afghanistan. So if he's getting back his boots in Afghanistan, it is not just to keep an eye on Pakistan, it is also to keep an eye on us, because they want to continue their domination of the globe in the 21st century. And at the moment, it is these two, and maybe at some time they might try to look at how to handle Saudi Arabia, Japan, South Korea. Australia, of course, is a non-entity. Without US, it can't do much. So, and once he pivots away from Europe and physically starts deploying boots in the Indo-Pacific region, especially in Western Pacific, that is where the NATO starts crumbling. Because without the US umbrella, there is no NATO. And when he puts his boots out here, then Japan, Taiwan, South Korea will get some succor that yes, there is a cover that we actually have, because till now it was always a question mark that will the Americans put boots on ground when the push comes to shove in the Western Pacific. So when he puts his boots
Okay.
there in that region, then whether he applies them or not, that's a different issue. Whether they will physically
But
get
boots on
involved.
ground is enough.
Yes, the presence of boots
Boots
on
on ground
ground
is
in
enough. Yeah, yeah.
Okinawa, even in
Yeah.
Philippines, maybe in South Korea,
Hey,
that's a major message.
but there's another thing which I wanted to point out, and this is it's not as if Trump is coming up with a brand new strategy for Western Pacific, because November, December, as Trump was still getting into chair, they've already deployed something in Okinawa, in that,
Yes,
right? They put something on Luzon, North Philippines, typhoons, and there they put hammers in
correct.
thing.
South
And
Korea.
then they put, yeah, South Korea, they put deployed a Virginia class submarine in Guam. They've got Washington, what's that, aircraft carrier
Career.
back into Japan. And they've done this thing. And what's more important, they've also tested a anti-hypersonic missile.
Yes. No, that apart, they brought in the Navy. He is bringing the
Navy.
boot from Europe
Boots
into the US.
to, yeah, that if that happens, that will be very decisive.
Yes. That
Okay.
would be a lot of,
Lot
I
of,
would
yeah,
say, strength to these people to stand up to China that
and
American boots are there.
they're
And
there.
I'm just seeing whether he's going to put his boots into Taiwan or not.
See, today's news is Taiwan has very clearly said we are going to spend 3% of our GDP on defense.
Defense.
Okay. And where will that 3% go to? It will go into American arms.
Yes.
Okay. And Philippines has also said we're going to up our thing. They are looking at Germany and India for more arms. Okay. And it's not only a US, they're going beyond that. So this on that score, I have no doubt that by the end of the year, my view is that we will be our focus will be more on Western Pacific.
Correct. I feel that it is by the end of this year or maybe beginning next year when the actual pivot to Asia will take place when the
Where
boots
will
come
have
out of
take place?
NATO and come here.
Come here. Okay, we have 1 year to go between this and that. How do you think this Russia-US equation will turn out? Okay, we can talk of Yalta 2.0, AO, all that. On ground, how do you
Yes.
think it will work out?
Basically, US would like to do the deal after all Ukraine, the raw earth deal he wants, rare earth. Similarly,
Hmm.
with Russia, it is if you look at it closely, what kind of sanctions they did. They never sanctioned the minerals. They never sanctioned the minerals from Russia, except for oil, gas, and other things they were sanctioning, not the minerals.
No,
Even
even
the
oil gas was sanctioned within the under a price band.
yes, sir, but minerals they never touched. Even the enriched uranium which they were getting for their reactors from Russia, they never touched. That is what they want to strengthen so that they can balance out the extreme dependency of rare earth minerals and other minerals on China. Today, China is controlling all that,
Yeah,
95%
and
of
they can.
the. So to balance that out, and that is where they are looking at these. And I basically look towards Russia is basically for this. And that is why I say that they will always try to keep a handle. And which is where I have my doubt whether it will be a complete peace treaty or will it be a ceasefire, something like North Korea.
Yeah, in
And
fact, I also feel that
the reason I'm saying
to
it is we had mentioned it then of UN and European and non-European boots to oversee that, which is indicating because if you have a peace treaty complete, then you don't need UN boots on ground. When it is a ceasefire or an armistice like North Korea, then you need boots on ground to see that whether it is holding or not.
yeah, see. There's no question of a peace treaty because the
Yes.
borders will not go back to original thing.
Yes.
And if the new borders will not be recognized by USA because that is granting expansion of Russia,
Yes.
they'll never agree. They'll
Yes.
keep it in animated
So that is
suspension.
why I feel that that is the handle they will always keep with Russia.
Always keep, yeah, with Russia. So that means some boots on ground have to come, and that's something which Russia has to learn to live with.
So that is where he had mentioned not American boots, but European and non-European boots,
Long European boots, right?
which is under
Also,
UN,
yeah,
a
I
UN
also
peacekeeping
feel that
force.
I don't know whether there's a UN peacekeeping force will come because considering the fact that Trump doesn't respect UN, whether a UN peacekeeping force
But
will come.
here he was giving a hint towards UN. Otherwise, if it is
UN.
European and non-European, then how do non-Europeans come there unless there is an overhanging
Uh,
umbrella of the UN?
okay. UN, fine. So, so that is one thing which is giving security. I mean, I also feel, I just thought I'll share it with you because some part of rare earths will be in Russia. So he'll
Yes,
have a deal with Russia also. And
yes.
that deal with Russia itself will give security to this whole story.
Whole story. So basically, wanting to cut the dependency on China as much so that China is not able to do geoeconomic blackmail on these issues when high tech is concerned, so that he can put more squeeze on China on high tech issues.
Yeah,
That
he's,
is
see,
the
one thing
strategy.
is, okay. The second thing which I also feel is that he'll have a deal on the Arctic with Russia.
Yes, he should be having, and that is why I feel it's the thrust for Canada and Greenland to A,
Greenland,
put out China, and B,
completely.
he has a synchronous border all along which he can control, starting from Alaska, Canada, and coming to Greenland. So north of North Pole is his, south of North Pole
One
is
side.
with the bulk of Russia, and so they will have an agreement so that there are no flashpoints. How will you use? What will you use? It also has a lot of, I'm told, minerals and others waiting to be
Yeah,
taken
Greenland,
out.
Greenland, Greenland.
Greenland,
Greenland is
Greenland,
good.
he will take
Greenland is good.
because Greenland, the minerals are all towards the southern portion, where
Mm.
essentially the 57, 58,000 population lives. But it is in the Arctic Sea also where they will manage how the FONOPS can take place.
Let's see how the, because that is something which is completely, what shall I
New.
say, new.
Greenfield
We don't know
territory.
what's there.
It's
Yeah,
greenfield territory, sir. Nobody
greenfield
knows.
territory. We don't know. Nobody knows what's there in north of Greenland also.
Yes,
But
yes,
there
yes.
are, there are confirmed uranium,
I'm
resources
sure
out there.
under that permafrost also there will be a lot of minerals
They
available.
will be, yeah,
And if the
yeah,
Arctic Circle is melting and going away at some point in time, the Greenland permafrost will also melt.
belt. So on that, there's no doubt. Okay, so that's Russia. Do you think China, Russia equations will undergo a change? Look, first and foremost, they will undergo a change. The way I look
Yes.
at it, if so much is happening, Russia will be forced to veer away. It will be forced. It's forced leverage.
Yes, the other issue is essentially Russia has never been close to China because he is very wary of it in the Far East. And that is why you find that some years ago, when they had their uh, Far East Economic Forum, they never invited Xi Jinping. Modi was invited. And it is Vladivostok Chennai connection that he has
Link.
given, nothing to China. Nothing to China. And the latest deal that he has done with India, I'm surprised a lot of our media has not discussed it at length. Also, apart from the logistics arrangement, it also deals with logistic arrangements for Indian ships going along the Arctic Circle, the 19 bases and the 5 civilian
Is
bases
given,
there
yeah.
is available to Indians, Indian shipping,
Yes.
which is not given to the Chinese. So
Yeah,
automatically he'll easily wean away from China, and that will actually isolate China to a big extent. And I'm not surprised that their mouthpieces are writing about Yalta 2.0 with China, and they're talking a lot now about India, China, and we must to hold our hands together and all. And that will start coming in. It's natural, but natural because China suddenly now feels isolated at the high table.
yeah, not only that. In fact, I want to tell everyone tomorrow evening, 5 o'clock, join on. In that open hour, I'm going to show articles to you from China, how they perceive this whole story. They're worried. They're very worried. Chinese are very worried. I'm talking of Guancha, which is absolute Chinese vernacular, verbatim, which I'll tell you exactly what do they think, and then that will put things in perspective. Okay. Now the point, what I wanted to highlight an issue. You see, let's look at the North Korean angle. Many people don't understand that the biggest vulnerability of China. It used to be a strength. The biggest vulnerability of China is today North Korea. And what Russia has done in the past 1 year is it has weaned North Korea away from China. And that fact is reflected by the issue that North Korea has again sent troops there to uh, Ukraine
To
front,
Russia, Ukraine front.
Russia. Yeah. So in this post this thing, when things are okay, you will find suddenly, actually, if you see the map, those of you who have not seen the map, have a look at the map. Beijing is closest to North Korea. Anything happens in North Korea, Beijing isn't a problem. And if tomorrow something happens in North Korea and South Koreans come and sit on Yalu River, or Americans sit on Yalu River, or Russians sit on Yalu River, they have a problem. So that problem also is actually has come about in the past 1 year, which indicates that Russia is keeping its edges open. I want your views on that.
No, bilkul, sir. Because uh, this has always been a clash. Has been a three-way clash, I would say, between Tsarist Russia, stroke Soviet Union, Japan, and China, especially Manchuria, Korea, all these areas. Like
Yeah, all occupied territory, reoccupied territories.
and till or 1905, Port Arthur, which is near Dalian Port, which Chinese have, was occupied by the Tsarist Russia. It was the Japanese who went and defeated them there. And at the Second World War in Yalta, Stalin had asked for all these territories back to Soviet Union, which is Manchuria and Dalian, all that areas back. So this has always been a point of contention. And the only reason why in 50 China went into South Korea was that at that time, of course, with the support of Soviet Union, they didn't want a capitalist country right on their border. Yalu River is the border between Korean Peninsula
Korea
and China.
and
So they had a buffer with North Korea, and they suddenly now find that this buffer no longer exists. It is much closer to Russia than to them.
yeah,
And
and
so he
and not
will
only
be.
that, what I want to tell people is today North Korean communications and all are based on Russian satellites, no more on Chinese satellites. They switched 6 months back away from
China.
um, China. So I think China
And
will
I
have its
find
own problem.
there were four
Yeah,
countries in this play that were being isolated: China, Iran, Turkey, and the odd man out Qatar. And now you would get to understand why the Emir of Qatar came running to India.
India. Yeah,
Speak to you. 10 years ago, he had come, 2015. After that, he would not come. And now suddenly he invited himself and he came and done all the deals. And he's given a lot of port handling and other facilities to Adani and other things he has signed, and he has gone off because he suddenly realized that he was backing the wrong horse and he's being isolated. And he would like to be isolated. He would like to be on the good books of the new, whenever the new structure comes out, whichever way it is. And he feels that, like I have always said, India is going to be the fulcrum of whatever comes out. In whichever manner it be, India is going to be the fulcrum. So he has come running to you. And you are the fulcrum. You might like to put in a good word for me to Trump so that he doesn't
no,
talk about
for those of you who have forgotten, when our prime minister went and met Mr. Trump,
Trump.
he said, "I'm going to have this corridor from India to Middle East to
Yeah,
Greece
I
to
know.
Italy, then IMEC." He said that I'm going to start this. I'm going to have this wonderful, beautiful corridor full of economy going up and down and all that. So, and the linchpin at one end is India. So there's no doubt in my mind about this.
Bilkul, sir. And Qatar and Turkey and Iran are getting left out in this IMEC. They are on
Left
the
out,
flank.
yeah,
They're on the
flank.
flank.
In fact, if last year when I analyzed the IMEC, one of the biggest problems Turkey had was how can this go through without
Without
टर्की हाउ कैन विद टर्की अभी तो वो मिडल ईस्ट भी सॉर्ट आउट हो गया हाइफा भी खुल गया पूरा हिजबुल्ला भी खत्म हो गया लेबनान
Bilkul.
also is getting under this resorting and now Gaza will start looking कि भाई रिवेरा आ रहा है कि नहीं so that this in the entire chaos which is creating this IMEC will roll out. That's my assessment.
Reports are coming. Greece is not too happy with the Chinese in the Piraeus port. They want to hand it over to India. And some people are talking that it might go to Adani. It is with Costco since 2008-9, but they're not too happy. So they would like to give that. And I feel it's going to be a three-way battle between Greece, Italy, and France. All of them want the IMEC port to come in their place. But unfortunately, other than Piraeus, neither Italy nor France has that big a deep sea port which can handle that level of traffic. So it most likely will land in Greece, and that is why Turkey is so worried, because Greece becomes very important in this play. And we all know they have a standoff with Greece as far as Cyprus is concerned. So Turkey is going to be very worried that Greece comes into prominence with Piraeus coming here. And I feel it will come there, because if nothing else, just to uh, pinch Erdogan.
No, that's not only that. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt. It's a stated policy of the Trump administration that we are going to have a corridor, and which is going to. He's not said it'll rival BRI. He's going to force BRI out of this area. I have no doubt about it.
In any case, I feel BRI is already a dead duck, sir.
No,
We have
it's
been
dead.
talking
But
a lot.
then,
Yeah, we have been talking a lot of how it has impacted those low-income companies, and their economies have become debt-ridden.
yeah,
But look at the blowback impact on the Chinese economy itself. They have put in so much of money with nothing coming back.
and got nothing, nothing coming back. But well,
So their economy is also impacted. So
okay.
here I
Well,
was saying that instead of spending money to make a deep sea port, you already have a ready-made
have
deep sea
one.
port available in Piraeus.
Yeah, I agree with you. Do you think Trump will allow some leeway to Russia as part of this deal into the Middle East back now that he Russia has lost that Syrian port?
I don't think so, sir. I don't think so, because if you read their Republican papers also, which Ralph Peters had written, they were not keen to leave those ports with Syria in any case. Tartus and वो दूसरा क्या है उनका,
जो भी है, it's okay.
Latakia, Tartus and
Latak.
Latakia. They were not keen. In any case, he has relocated them to Sudan. He has come into Africa. Libya and Sudan he has come into. So I feel the next battle for geopolitical influence, there are two places I feel it will come. Middle East will always be there. Anyone and
Yeah,
everyone would like to have that. The others are, of course, your Africa and Latin America. Because if Russia is not being allowed to enter into the Middle East, or they are facing stumbling blocks, then I'm sure they will like to do something like China did and get into, which they had always done as Soviet Union in Latin America
before.
to counter the Americans. So they might get back into Latin America again.
Yeah, but look, the way he's first actually focused on Latin America with Panama Canal. He's also now trying to get after Maduro in
Yes,
Venezuela. Okay, and he's got a friend in Javier Milei in Argentina. Also,
Argentina.
dost hai.
My
I mean,
biggest
we
issue is that, for all you know, he might give the Falkland stroke Malawinas back to Argentina and tell them to take it
Argentina.
out.
Yeah,
This is
वो
my
भी हो सकता
area.
है.
This is my area of influence. I don't want you here. You go out
You,
from here.
yeah.
Be happy with
So,
Gibraltar, not here.
yeah, already there is a issue. Again, the Chinese analysis suggests that they're having problems. They already smell problems in Latin America,
Yes.
where they're right, and I think Colombia has already said, I'm no more part of BRI.
Oh yes. People are stepping out from BRI. They're not very keen, because they are also realizing that the countries are getting into debt, and they're achieving nothing.
They are not able, nothing. Okay. Now let me turn our discussion to India. What do we do in this kind of a situation,
You got,
geopolitically and militarily? Two
so
two
I would say,
aspects, geopolitically and militarily.
no, our geopolitics, I would say, depends on how well we handle our geoeconomics. That is number one. Number two, militarily, we have to be very careful. It's all very nice indicator by uh, Trump to talk about Bangladesh, that India will sort it out. Indirectly, he has hinted that you have to look after the Indian Ocean region and I will look after the Western Pacific Ocean, is what my reading is. If you have to look after the Indian Ocean region, then the manner in which this modernization capability development has is progressing, I don't think will achieve that. You got to start looking at becoming a having a prompt regional response capability, which is what Trump is looking at in the larger perspective, not just in the military. But since we are looking at military, then we need to have militarily also a prompt regional response capability for anything, whether it be HADR. Piracy, we have already shown, but we took away our ships and we went there with 10 and 2, which were Aden Task Force, and we went there. So, for these types of things, we need to start looking at how we are going to have a regional uh, prompt response capability. And in that, the restructuring that we are doing, I find one thing missing, which I had been writing since 2016 on this, that you need a strategic theater command. You can't leave it to these theater commands that you have made that they will be able to provide a strategic response capability. While the response capability may rest with them, strategically overall to understand where to go with what and how has to be under the CDS with a strategic theater command to be able to sort this thing out. Otherwise, you're living in a pipe dream. This will not happen
Yeah, yeah.
overnight. Take you
Actually,
10, 15 years.
actually,
Otherwise, it's a pipe dream.
you actually echoed what I've said, what I thought. The first time when theater commands were, outlined, I still remember I just drew a map. I said one will be naturally Northern Command and China, Western Command, Pakistan, a Maritime Command, and I drew in the center a reserve command, a
Yes.
reserve theater, a reserve theater. I said this reserve theater should have everything which is meant for reserves, because the complete game of geopolitics will be all about reserves. Yeah, for out of area contingency capability, whether for your nuclear response capability, your complete SFC and all should come under the reserve command. Your deterrence, big deterrence value has to come out of the reserve command. You call it strategic command,
Strategic,
strategic theater,
because
or reserve.
all your, like what you said, why I called it strategic command means all your strategic reserves have to be there.
Are in this,
And all these,
including
because
your space.
yes, all your theater commanders will be looking towards that specific theater. At the overall grand strategy level, this is
Grand
the
strategic
person you
level.
have got to
Yeah,
coordinate.
I really hope that people in start thinking of it, because my view is that as we change our structures, we also have to change it in tune with emerging geopolitical realities.
Yes, yes, that has to
You
be
can't
there.
say that has to be there, and you can't say that I will live with the old story.
No, and also while we are talking at the highest, higher defense structures, it percolates down because your new technologies come there. Will you continue with the structures which were identified during the Second World War and continue with that, or will you look at modification
New
of your
structures.
structures also to be able to effectively apply the technologies that are coming in? Because nobody is going to give you new boots. Within that existing structure, you have to readjust and bring in these new technologies right down to the tactical and unit level. So how are you going to do this? I don't find that kind of a discussion or papers being written in our military journals on these issues. They're still looking at theater level, which at some level will get applied, but I feel people have to be concerned about
Okay.
how you're going to modify your military with the technology that is coming in.
Yeah, so we are looking at technology, we are looking at a strategic theater. Both these, the effects of combined effects of both these. Okay, so I have a proposal. Say somewhere during in the middle of the month, shall we talk of this strategic theater?
So most welcome. So we can do that.
We'll do that.
I've
We'll do
written
that
so many
later.
times
So
about it. In fact,
no,
I've
we'll do
spoken
that
to.
because look, I think we need to understand this shift which is happening. The shift is important, right?
Correct. So, and if
Because
you
the
have
shift
to be
is
fulcrum, then you have to readjust yourself.
just, and if this shift, in this shift, there are two issues. You're an important player in a in the Trump vision. let me
Trump.
call it the Trump vision. Okay, you're also a threat in the Trump vision. If India gets strategic autonomy, they are in problems. And we have to balance this out. And to balance this out, we need new thinking and new structures, right? I mean, I just thought I'll highlight this to everyone. And so this is what I thought we need to put across. Is there anything else we have to start thinking of? Yeah, one point which I thought, like Trump has said, look after your neighborhood. What should we do better to look after our neighborhood? I mean, this is the time for us to handle not only Bangladesh, it is also Nepal, it is also Maldives, it is also Bhutan and Myanmar and all these people. Yeah,
So that is why where I said that this geopolitical way you will be able to handle the geoeconomics. You know that you will be like what you said about strategic autonomy. It is MAGA and MEGA. Atmanirbhar Bharat is MEGA. Make India great again. MAGA is make America great again. Now, how do you manage the two? And so here I said, you look at, like we have always spoken, low and medium tech, what you can squeeze out from China. China is facing an issue. Other countries are facing an issue. So when Ursula had come here, she
one,
should have been told that you shift your supply chains here,
yeah,
get your supply chains here, and then we'll
yeah,
be able to supply you. And
yeah,
similarly, you look at certain key companies which are facing issues of functioning within Europe and EU. Can something of that be established here within your place? Because then you will find, they will find that they get a much more stable place to work from, and they can build and export to the other places also. Now, these are the things that you got to see before,
yeah.
like Trump is selling MAGA, he wants companies to come there, but he doesn't have skilled labor to run that MAGA. And for skilled labor, at the lowest level is looking at Mexico, at the higher level is looking at India. Now,
India.
then then you will have a problem for your MEGA, Atmanirbhar Bharat, because you need your own skilled labor also. So, which is where I say this is the balancing you need to do when you can get these things here. Don't ask for everything to come here. Why would you want complete Rolls Royce or complete Airbus or complete Volkswagen or something to come here? Get a portion of it here. Say in
No,
this
but you
region.
can do.
Start with the region. I would say
No,
start with
but
the
you
region.
can. What I very interestingly, yesterday I had an interaction with the civil aviation chaps. India is the third largest aircraft carrier in the world. When I say aircraft carrier, civil aircrafts.
Civil aircrafts. Yes.
Okay, it is USA, China, and third is India. Today, I'm not talking of tomorrow, day after, and all. Today, many of you won't understand or know that the Delhi Bombay aircraft, route is the eighth. I mean, what shall I say? Most crowded
Busiest,
route.
busiest route.
Eighth, eighth
Yes.
busiest route in the world. Okay, this is where we are going. And then our north-south air traffic from Chennai, Hyderabad, and Bangalore to Delhi follows.
For-
It's somewhere there. The complementary, these three, this triangle put together to Delhi actually is more busier than Delhi, Bombay also at times. So I just thought I'll put all these across, and we need to now start looking. You see, while everyone looks at capital and all that, I would like to look at revenue. I would like to look at ship repair. I would I would like to look at MRO,
MRO.
overall MRO
Because
for
I
aircraft.
always feel the MRO is the lowest hanging fruit available to you.
Fruit available
And
to
you
you.
have all the kind of range, depth, and scope to provide it. Get the MRO bases here. Then you start bringing their entities out here that we will be able to support. From here, you will be able to support whatever you have deployed in the region. Those kind of vision starts need to coming in. Number two, which I've always been flagging in various fora, I don't find this kind of thinking in our business houses wherein what are the archaic policies that are existing within the government which inhibits this thing from coming faster that they would like to change. They wait from budget to budget, and they're only looking at taxing and this tax and that tax and reducing GST on this. They have to start concentrating on the policies. We can keep saying that archaic policies need to go. What needs to go, what needs to get modified, how you need to modify it, the users, that is these business houses, FICCI, ASSOCHAM, these are the business houses, CCI, they need to get their act together to start telling that if we have to do this, then these policies need these modifications and other things. If that doesn't come through, then you will miss the bus.
Miss the bus. Right. We've done 50 minutes. We've started from the White House and got down to India. We got a fair idea as to how things are going to pan out. Let's take a few